Judging from the flags and the yard signs I saw on the way here, this is also Trump country. But I appreciate y'all coming out today. I really do. It's great to be here with so many friends. And especially great back to be in the home district of a rising star in the Republican Party. A man who had big shoes to fill, and he's gone and filled them. He's emerged as one of the great conservative champions in the House of Representatives. Would the hometown crowd give a round of applause to Congressman Brian Stile for me? What a great guy. Where are you, Brian? Thank you, Brian. And while you're at it, thank Congressman Glenn Grothman for coming out today. He is a tenacious, principled conservative. But I got to tell you, we're here for one reason and one reason only. And that is that Wisconsin and America need 4 more years of President Donald Trump in the White House. It's on, everybody. 3 weeks from today, and the road to victory goes right through Wisconsin. You know, I was in Utah last week. We had a little debate with Kamala Harris. I don't know if you had a chance to see it. Some people think we did all right. But let me be honest with you. I think that wasn't just a debate between 2 candidates for vice president. I think it was a debate between 2 visions and 2 futures. And Joe Biden and Kamala Harris want a future of higher taxes, open borders, socialized medicine. They want to abolish fossil fuels. They want to use taxpayer dollars to fund abortion. They want to defund the police and pack the Supreme Court. President Trump's vision for the future, we're going to keep supporting our military. We're going to keep cutting taxes, rolling back regulation, unleashing American energy, securing our border, supporting law enforcement, life, liberty, and the Constitution of the United States. I mean, when you compare the Biden-Harris agenda with our agenda, the choice is clear. If you cherish faith and freedom and law and order and life, 3 weeks from today, you need to do everything in your power to work, to voice, to vote, to re-elect President Donald Trump for 4 more years. I mean, think about how far we've come. 4 years ago, we inherited a military that was hollowed out by devastating budget cuts. An economy that was struggling to break out of the slowest recovery since the Great Depression. Terrorism was on the rise around the world. And worst of all, we'd witnessed a steady assault on our most cherished values. But in 3 short years, I'm proud to report to you, we rebuilt our military. We restored the arsenal of democracy. And I couldn't be more proud to be vice president to a president who cares so deeply about the men and women of our armed forces and their families. Under President Donald Trump, we're finally giving our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Coast Guard the resources and the support that they need to defend this nation. And you know, it's personal to me. My son's a captain in the United States Marine Corps. And my son-in-law, my unworthy son-in-law, is an F-18 pilot currently deployed overseas in service in the United States Navy. And on this 245th birthday of the United States Navy, I'm proud to tell you that we are on track to have a 350-ship Navy, and 20 of those ships are being built right here at Fincantieri Shipyard in Marinette, Wisconsin. lot to be proud of. So we've stood with those who serve in the uniform of the United States. And every single day, President Donald Trump has stood with all the men and women who've worn the uniform of the United States. President Donald Trump is the most pro-veterans president in my lifetime. In fact, since you all are standing, if you served in our military, would the men and women who are veterans, would you put your hand in the air and let us say thanks one more time for your service to this nation? Thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. Thank you. You know, when Joe Biden was vice president, America saw years of scandal at the VA that shocked the conscience of our nation. We literally had veterans who were perishing, waiting for services at the VA that they earned in the uniform of the United States. But under President Donald Trump, those days are over. In our first year in office, President Trump signed the most sweeping reforms of the VA in 50 years. We have fired thousands of VA employees that weren't providing the care to our veterans, and now Veterans Choice is available to every veteran in America. We didn't just rebuild our military and support our vets. In our first 3 years, we revived the American economy, created the greatest economy the world has ever known. Where Joe Biden wants to raise taxes, President Trump cut taxes across the board for working families and businesses just like this one. We rolled back more federal red tape than any administration in American history. We unleashed American energy. We fought for free and fair trade, and in just 3 short years, businesses large and small created more than 7 million good-paying jobs, including 61,000 jobs right here in the Badger State. Wisconsin achieved a near record low unemployment of 3.1%. And here in the Badger State, we also saw average hourly earnings grew nearly as much in our first 3 years as they did during all 8 years when Joe Biden was vice president. And maybe most meaningful of all to me and the president, during those first 3 years, wages rose across the board, the fastest pace in 10 years, but they rose most rapidly for hardworking blue-collar Americans. The forgotten men and women of America were forgotten no more. And can I just say, none of that would have been possible without the strong and principled leadership and partnership the President and I enjoyed with former Governor Scott Walker. President Trump and I know Scott Walker's leadership, past, present, and future, will make a great difference for Wisconsin and America. And then standing here at Weldall, a great manufacturing company, I'm just remembering back when Joe Biden was vice president, America lost 200,000 manufacturing jobs. You know, I like to say, being from the heartland as well, out in this part of the country, we do 2 things well. We make things and we grow things, right? Manufacturing and agriculture is the heart of the heartland. But remember, when Joe Biden was vice president, 4 years ago, his president said that those manufacturing jobs they lost were never coming back. You remember? He said, what magic wand do you have? Well, we didn't need a magic wand. We just needed President Donald Trump in the White House. 500,000 manufacturing jobs in just 3 years, including 16,000 right here in Wisconsin. And all along along the way, President Donald Trump has stood for the rule of law. As we stand here today, I'm proud to report to you that we've seen confirmed more than 230 conservative judges to our federal courts at every level, and they're all men and women who will uphold the God-given liberties in our Constitution, like the freedom of religion, the freedom of speech, and the Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. All of them. Now, last month, we paused as a nation to honor the life and service of the late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. But when the memorials were over, President Donald Trump fulfilled his constitutional duty, and he nominated a principled, extraordinary, conservative woman to the Supreme Court of the United States, Judge Amy Coney Barrett. And she's from the Hoosier State. Just saying. You know, the confirmation hearings have started. I was watching a little bit on Air Force Two on the way here, and America is seeing the character, the quality, and the intellect of Judge Amy Coney Barrett shine forth. The President and I said early on, though, that Judge Barrett deserves a respectful and dignified hearing, and we're going to hold him to account. But we have reason to be concerned. You all remember when Judge Barrett was confirmed 2 years ago, the top Democrat on the Judiciary Committee actually said that Judge Barrett's Catholic faith was of concern. Senator Feinstein said, because, quote, the dogma lives loudly within you. And Hollywood elites have already begun to criticize Judge Barrett for her family and her faith. Well, I got news for the Democrats and their friends in Hollywood. That dogma lives loudly in me. That dogma lives loudly in you. And the right to live and work and worship according to the dictates of our faith lives loudly in the Constitution of the United States of America. These attacks on religious faith must stop, and they must stop now. Now, the Senate has a job to do, and they're going about the business of advising and consenting right now. But I'll make you a prediction. Judge Amy Coney Barrett will soon be Justice Amy Coney Barrett. We're going to fill that seat. But you know, talking about the Supreme Court, people of Wisconsin deserve to know that after 150 years with 9 seats on the Supreme Court of the United States, Democrats in Washington are actually talking about packing the court. And Joe Biden is refusing to answer the question. He refused to answer the question in the presidential debate. His running mate, Kamala Harris, refused to answer the question when I posed it to her. And last Friday, Joe Biden was asked if voters deserved to know if he was going to pack the court, and he said, and I quote, "No, they don't." Well, Joe, yes, we do. When you're running for the highest office in the land, the American people deserve to know if you're going to respect the highest court in the land. I mean, you all get it. Out here in the heartland, you know, we might have been born in the morning, but we weren't born yesterday morning. I mean, the only explanation about why they aren't answering the question is because Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are planning to pack the court with liberal judges if they win this election. But we're not going to let it happen. We're going to re-elect President Donald Trump for 4 more years and protect an independent judiciary for generations to come. So we've stood for the rule of law and an independent judiciary, conservatives on our courts. And as Congressman Stile just said, every single day, President Donald Trump has stood with the men and women who serve on the thin blue line of law enforcement, and we always will. You know, I like to say all my heroes wear uniforms. It's true. When I was growing up, my mom and dad used to take us back home where they grew up in Chicago. We'd go to my grandparents' house, and there I'd see my uncle. He was a young man then. He'd come walking out in that police uniform, sidearm strapped to his side. Me and my three brothers would just look up in awe. President Trump and I know what you all know. The men and women who serve in law enforcement are some of the best people in this country, and they deserve the respect of every American every single day. Now, the President and I will always support the right of Americans to peaceful protest. It's enshrined in the Constitution. But rioting and looting is not peaceful protest. Burning businesses is not free speech. Violence against innocent civilians, the destruction of property, or violence against law enforcement will not be tolerated, and those who do these things will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Now, for months, all Joe Biden talked about was peaceful protesters, remember? All summer long, as the American people watched businesses and communities literally burn. We saw cities in Wisconsin like Kenosha and Milwaukee beset by violence and destruction. The truth of the matter is, though, Joe Biden would double down on the policies that have led to violence in America's cities. I mean, when you withdraw support for those who protect and serve, you only embolden those who would do harm to our families and our communities. I mean, it's no surprise Milwaukee has literally seen a 110% increase in homicides this year. All while Milwaukee's Democrat mayor has called for cutting 120 police officers from his 2021 budget. Now, Joe Biden justifies it all by saying that America, in his words, is systemically racist. And he says that police have a, quote, implicit bias against minorities. When Joe Biden was asked if he'd support cutting funding to law enforcement, he replied, yes, absolutely. But let me make you a promise. Under President Donald Trump, we're not going to defund the police. Not now, not ever. We're going to back the blue every day for 4 more years. Under President Donald Trump, we're going to have law and order in every city, in every state, for every American of every race and creed and color. So help us God. You know, the President and I know what you know. We don't have to choose between supporting law enforcement and supporting our families in the African American community or in other minority communities. I mean, the truth of the matter is, we have done both for the last 3.5 years. We've supported law enforcement. 4,000 police officers funded through the COPS program. Operation Legend surged into cities around the country. And under this president, I'm proud to say, in our first 3 years, we had the lowest unemployment rate ever recorded for African Americans. We made funding to historically black colleges and universities permanent with record funding. We passed criminal justice reform, and President Trump fought for school choice for every family and every community in this country. So we're going to keep doing both. We're going to keep supporting law enforcement and keep supporting our African American neighbors. So we've stood for the rule of law. We've stood for law and order for every American, of every race and creed and color. And from day one, this president has also stood for the right of every American to live, to work, and to worship according to the dictates of our conscience. People of faith had no greater champion than President Donald Trump. It's true. Under this president's leadership, we restored the conscience rights of doctors and nurses, teachers, and religious charities. And President Donald Trump ended the last administration's assault on the little sisters of the poor, and the Supreme Court voted by 7-2 to make it permanent. I mean, it's amazing to think about it. You know, I'm a product of 8 years of Catholic education. You with me? I mean, I had some wonderful nuns that poured that foundation in my life, and I was afraid of almost every single one. Are you with me? Unbelievable women. But think about the little sisters of the poor. Women have taken a vow of poverty to do nothing more than to help the underserved community. And when Joe Biden was vice president, they hauled the little sisters into the federal court to force them to compromise their faith, to live under the mandates of Obamacare. But you all deserve to know that after the Supreme Court ruled in our favor and in favor of the little sisters of the poor, Joe Biden said if he's elected, he's going to work to reimpose the Obamacare mandates on the little sisters of the poor and other religious institutions. In fact, if you doubt it, even his running mate attacked one of our judicial nominees that we were appointing from Nebraska because he was a member of the Catholic Knights of Columbus. Well, let me tell you, men and women, with 4 more years of President Donald Trump in the White House, we're going to respect the religious freedom of every American of every faith. So help us God. And when you talk about values, beyond all that, I couldn't be more proud to be vice president to a president who stands without apology for the sanctity of human life. Where Joe Biden and Kamala Harris support taxpayer funding of abortion all the way up to the moment of birth, President Donald Trump is the most pro-life president in American history. So we've rebuilt our military, revived our economy. We've stood for law and order, liberties, and life. And let me say, none of that would have been possible without the strong and consistent support of you conservative leaders from here in Wisconsin. Would you join me in thanking Senator Ron Johnson for his firm, principled leadership in the United States Senate? We need a renewed Republican majority in the Senate, and we need Congressman Brian Stile and Congressman Glenn Grothman back in a new Republican majority that will retire Nancy Pelosi once and for all. I mean, it's amazing to think about what we accomplished in our first 3 years. With a Republican House and a Republican Senate, we laid a foundation of security and prosperity that I think is only one way to describe it. In 3 short years, we made America great again. Am I right? And then the coronavirus struck from China. But I'm here to tell you, before the first documented case of community transmission within the United States, President Trump did what no American president had ever done in our history. He suspended all travel from China, the second largest economy in the world. Now, Joe Biden said that was, quote, hysterical and xenophobic. He actually wrote an editorial in January where he said it was fear-mongering, that suspending travel would actually make things worse. But I can tell you firsthand, as head of the White House Coronavirus Task Force, President Trump's action, suspending all travel from China, bought us invaluable time to stand up the largest national mobilization since World War II, and it saved countless American lives. In the time that we gained, we reinvented testing. We've done more than 120 million tests so far. We saw to the manufacture and delivery of hundreds of billions of supplies, of medical supplies. We're developing medicines that are literally saving lives, and I'm proud to report we are on track to have the first safe and effective coronavirus vaccine before the end of this year. As President Trump said on the South Lawn a few days ago, through the power of American science and medicine, we will eradicate the China virus. You know, I spoke to the President this morning before I got on the plane, and I'm happy to report the President and First Lady Melania are doing just great. And he is back on the road today. But let me say on the President's behalf how moved we've all been by the outpouring of concern and especially prayers for our first family. It's meant so much. But the President and I know the outpouring of love and care and concern for them is just emblematic of the same care and concern and prayers that the American people have ushered for family and neighbors and friends and even strangers that have dealt with this coronavirus pandemic. And so can we just take a moment? We give a round of applause to the doctors, the nurses, the first responders, all those in ministry who've come alongside families struggling with loss in the midst of this pandemic. You are heroes all. And I promise all of you, we're going to keep making sure our doctors and nurses have all the resources they need. We're going to keep protecting the vulnerable and saving lives. And while Joe Biden is talking about shutting down our economy, under President Donald Trump, we're opening up America again. I mean, in just the last 5 months, after losing 22 million jobs at the height of this pandemic, we've already seen 11.5 million Americans go back to work, including 237,000 people right here in Wisconsin. Amazing. So we're opening up America, and we are opening up America's schools. We announced a week ago that we're distributing 100 million rapid point-of-care tests to school nurses and school administrators all across America, just to make sure we can get our kids back in the classroom and keep them safely back in the classroom where they belong. In fact, you talk about, you know, I've been married to a school teacher for 35 years. And Karen is already back in the classroom at that little Christian school she teaches. Can we just hear it for all the teachers that did all the remote teaching and all the, what an incredible job. We love all of you. Great job. So, men and women of Wisconsin, we've gone through a time of testing. But in 3 weeks from today, we're coming to a time for choosing. And the choice in this election has never been clearer. The stakes have never been higher. It's amazing to think in the middle of a global pandemic, Joe Biden wants to raise taxes by $4 trillion. President Trump, We not only cut taxes in our first 3 years, but we're going to keep cutting taxes for middle-class Americans for 4 more years. Joe Biden wants to bury our economy under an avalanche of red tape. The President had to remind him the other day that he actually supports the Green New Deal. He wants to put us back in that Paris Climate Accord. President Trump, he's cut red tape at record levels. Our air and land and water are the cleanest at any time in history, and America is a net exporter of energy for the first time in 70 years. And when it comes to trade, so important here in the heartland. International trade, what we make, what we grow. The contrast couldn't be more clear. When we came into office, half of our international trade deficit was with communist China. It's true. We were losing $500 billion a year to China in our trading relationship. Joe Biden's been a cheerleader for communist China all along the way. In fact, he said that the rise of China was a positive development. Maybe for China. President Trump, he put China on notice that the era of economic surrender is over. We imposed tariffs on China to demand that they open their markets to what we make and what we grow, and we're going to stand firm until China opens the door to American manufacturing and agriculture. And closer to home, I don't have to tell all of you what NAFTA meant across the heartland. It's just amazing. Back in Indiana, we literally saw entire communities shuttered in the 25 years since NAFTA was signed into law. Jobs moved south to Mexico. I mean, literally on Election Day 4 years ago, we heard of a company in Indiana that was announcing they were still moving jobs to Mexico. And Joe Biden never lifted a finger for 25 years to improve NAFTA. But thanks to the man who wrote The Art of the Deal, Wisconsin and America got a real deal. The USMCA is here today, and NAFTA is yesterday. And let me tell you, USMCA was a huge victory for Wisconsin workers and Wisconsin dairy. I mean, before the USMCA, Canada was actually imposing quotas on our great dairy industry. They had tariffs running as high as 300% on dairy products like what's called specialty milk. But I was there many times when the president was on the phone with his counterpart in Canada. I'm telling you what, he drove a hard bargain for dairy. President Donald Trump fought for Wisconsin dairy, and under the USMCA, we're going to export $300 million more in dairy every single year. And I'm telling you, the people of this state also deserve to know that Joe Biden's running mate, Kamala Harris, was one of only 10 senators to vote against the USMCA. I brought it up last week in Utah. I mean, she said the USMCA didn't go far enough on climate change. I mean, Kamala Harris put her radical environmental agenda ahead of Wisconsin dairy and Wisconsin workers, and it's one more reason why Wisconsin needs to say no to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and yes to 4 more years of President Donald Trump in the White House. And even closer to home, here in the state where school choice began, people of Wisconsin deserve to know that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, they want to end school choice. They want to shut down charter schools. President Trump and I, we've been fighting to give every parent the right to choose where their children go to school, regardless of their income and area code, and we're going to fight for parental choice in education for 4 more years. And finally, where President Trump and I have been working every day to give the American people better health care that protects pre-existing conditions and lowers the cost of health insurance without growing the size of government. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are planning a government takeover of health care. And Kamala Harris was the original co-sponsor of Bernie Sanders' socialist Medicare for All bill. And Joe Biden's embrace of a public option in Obamacare would put us on an inevitable path to socialized medicine. But let me make you a promise. With 4 more years of President Donald Trump in the White House, we're going to give the American people the world-class health care that you deserve. We're going to protect pre-existing conditions. We're going to lower the cost of health insurance. We're going to harness the power of the free market, and America will never be a socialist country. You know, when you look at their agenda, it's clear. I mean, Joe Biden would be nothing more than a Trojan horse for the radical left. Now, Joe Biden says that democracy is on the ballot. Well, I think our economic recovery is on the ballot. I think law and order are on the ballot. But I also believe that things much more foundational to who we are on the ballot. You know, I think 3 weeks from today, when all the dust settles in this election, it's not going to be whether America is more Republican or more Democrat, more conservative or more liberal, more red or more blue. I think the choice in this election is whether America remains America. Whether we're going to chart a course for our children and our grandchildren that's grounded in our highest ideals of freedom, individual responsibility, and all the values enshrined in our Constitution, or whether we're going to let Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and their party take us down a path towards socialism and decline. So let me say from my heart, for our freedom and all the ideals that have always made America great, we need to decide right here and right now that Joe Biden will never be President of the United States. We're going to re-elect President Donald Trump for 4 more years. So I'm grateful you came out today. I want to give Weldall Manufacturing another round of applause, would you? Thank you for, Dave, thanks for having me out. Thank you to you and your family and your great team. It is great to be back. It truly is. But I hope you'll carry what I've said here today every day for the next 3 weeks. I mean, say, you know, I was over at Weldall the other day. I ran into Mike out in the parking lot, and he was telling me what 4 more years are going to mean for this country. You tell him, I said, 4 more years means more jobs. 4 more years means more judges. 4 more years means more support for our troops and our police. And you tell him I said it's going to take at least 4 more years to drain that swamp. Oh, we're draining it. You know, 4 years ago, a movement was born. You were all a part of it. So was I. A movement of everyday Americans from every walk of life. Here in Wisconsin, you believed we could be strong again. You believed we could be prosperous again. Wisconsin said yes to President Donald Trump in 2016, and I know Wisconsin's going to say yes to 4 more years of President Donald Trump in 2020. But it's going to take all of us to do it. I mean, it's on. It's on, everybody. 3 weeks to go. And I'm telling you what, in all the efforts that you put forward and everything that remains between now and the close of the polls, I want to assure you, I've been with this president every day for the last 4 years. I've seen him when the cameras are off, when nobody's looking. And I can tell you firsthand, my friend, our president, has never stopped fighting to keep the promises that he made to the people of Wisconsin. Now it's our turn to fight for him. So I got a couple things to ask of you. Number one, keep bringing all this enthusiasm. I got to tell you what, you people, what a great group. Man. First and foremost, you need to vote, Wisconsin. Vote for 4 more years of President Donald Trump in the White House. I'm told early voting starts in just a few days. And remember, friends don't let friends vote alone. Bring a family member, bring a neighbor, bring a coworker. And after you vote, I want you to tell somebody. You know, I'll always believe that the most powerful media in America is not your big newspapers or your big TV networks. It's not all your cable news. It's not even social media. What you all proved in 2016 is the most powerful media in America is when someone who knows you and respects you hears from you about an issue, a candidate, a cause that you think is important to them and their family and the state and the nation. So right after you vote, I want you to spend every day between now and Election Day talking about all that we've done for this country, talking about the choice in this election. Because I really believe it made the difference in 2016. The American people were talking to one another. We were turning down the sound of all the TV pundits and the prognosticators, and we were listening to each other and listening to the heart of this nation. And finally, I would ask you if you're inclined to do one more thing, that you consider doing that over the next 3 weeks. You know, all my travels around this country over the last 4 years, I'm convinced of 2 things. That America is a freedom-loving nation. And America is a nation of faith. I mean, the sweetest words the President and I ever hear are when people will reach out across a rope line, stop you on a street corner, or in all the letters that I receive, almost every single one, people tell you, I'm praying for you. And so I just want to say to each one of you, if you're inclined to bow the head and bend the knee, it'd be a good time to do it over the next 3 weeks. And when you pray, I want to encourage you to pray with confidence that in those ancient words that Americans have clung to in much more challenging times than we could possibly imagine, that if his people who are called by his name will humble themselves and pray and turn, that he'll do like he's always done through the long and storied history of this nation. He'll hear from heaven and he'll heal this land. This one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So pray for America. Pray for all the American people. It'll make a difference. And I'm going to have to blow out of here. What a great Wisconsin win. Fantastic. But I want to thank you all for coming out today. And I leave here today more confident than ever that if all of us do all that we need to do in every day between now and November 3rd, that we're going to have a great American comeback. We're going to have a great victory for all of the American people. And with a renewed Republican majority in the United States Senate, with Congressman Brian Stile and Glenn Grothman in a new Republican majority in the House of Representatives, with President Donald Trump in the White House for 4 more years, and with God's help, we're going to deliver a great victory all across Wisconsin, all across America. And we're going to make America great again. Again. Thank you all very much. God bless you, and God bless America.